Thou shalt document thy actions. There is a wonderful writer, I think she lives in Southern Virginia, named Barbara King Salver. And I mean, her books are terrific. And she wrote in a book that I read from her many years ago, she said, memory is a complicated thing, a relative to truth, but not its twin. Yeah, Barbara King Salver had a good grip on one of the most important things we can understand about ourselves, and that is that memory, our ability to remember things accurately, is a very hit and miss proposition for most of us, and it doesn't get better as you get older. And you may have heard this before, but I think about negotiators, for example, and my job as a contracting officer, preparing for one negotiation after another, and my life as a lawyer, preparing for an argument in court. Basically, our minds are like bathtubs, right? We fill them up for this case or this negotiation or this deal. And then when we're done, as we walk out, we drain them and we fill them up with the facts and things we need to know for the next deal, the one we got to deal with in a couple of days. That's just human nature. And so you can forget things. I mean, everyone's pretty busy, right? Your plate is full. And in addition to what you're doing at the office, we have family and personal obligations and on and on. So the way you protect yourself is to document what you have done each day, so that if there's ever a question as to what happened on October 31st, 2024, you're very likely going to know where to go to find out and remind yourself what happened on October 31, 2024. Now, memories are fragile things. Barbara King Salver knew it and knows it and told us that, and you can figure this out from your own experience. Now, if you ever take a good look at the FAR, you will notice that there are many places in there where government contracting officers are told to memorialize what they have done or how they have reached a decision. They've got to do a document to memorialize it for the record, and it's going to go in the contract file. That is what the US government does, and does very well. So 2 years from now, if there's an argument about what was agreed to today, and the contracting officer is on the witness stand, and the government lawyer says, Miss Johnson, I'm handing you a document. Do you recognize that? Oh, yes, I do. What is it? Could you tell the court? Well, that is a memorandum I prepared on October 31st, 2024, documenting what we talked about with ABC Company and what conclusions were reached. Ah, okay, thank you. And have you seen that document before? Oh, yes, well, I wrote it. Uh-huh. And when was the last time you read this document? Oh, I read it in preparation for today's testimony. And did it refresh your memory? Oh, it sure did. And does it accurately reflect your recollection of what was agreed to on October 31st, 2024? Absolutely, right down the line. Now, contrast that with the witness for the company, the vice president who gets up and says, oh, I was at that meeting. That's not what we agreed to. Well, do you have any documentation to show that? No. I'm going on memory, but I can tell you right now, that is not what we agreed to. Guess who's going to win that battle? Of course, a contemporaneously drafted document is one of the most powerful pieces of evidence anyone can submit in a courtroom. And so the government is expert at this. And that is why, to survive in this business, contractors have to be experts in it as well. If we have, in the mid-90s, we had two statutes, the Federal Acquisition Streamlining Act and the Federal Acquisition Reform Act, FASA and FARA. And some people will tell you that they are the ones that commercialize the world of government contracting. Well, that's simply not true. The best you can say about FASA and FARA is they made the world of government contracting less unattractive to commercial companies. I mean, we're talking about the computer software and hardware companies. That was the whole goal. And let me assure you that if you are a government contractor for the first time and you treat your government customers the same way you treat and deal with your commercial customers, you are cruising for a bruising, because it is a different beast altogether. And one of the big differences between doing business in the commercial sector and doing business with Uncle Sam is the need to document your actions. Now, for example, in government, in the business world in general, at common law, there is a doctrine called apparent authority. And what that means is that as between two businesses, if after dealing with someone who says they represent ABC Company, I reasonably conclude that they've got the power to contractually bind ABC Company, then ABC Company is bound, whether or not that person actually has the power. But that doctrine of apparent authority does not apply to the world of government contracting. In our world of government contracting, the doctrine is called actual authority. And based on a 1948 U.S. Supreme Court decision, the risk of dealing with an unauthorized government employee is on the contractor. Now, you know, if you've been in our business more than 2 weeks, that the only person who can commit the U.S. government contractually is the contracting officer, a warranted contracting officer whose warrant covers the amount of the commitment. That's it. Now, in our interactions with Uncle Sam, we deal with a lot of people other than the contracting officer. We deal with CORs, we deal with QC people, we deal with lawyers, we deal with auditors, we deal with program managers, we deal with colonels and sergeants, and that's a lot of people. And a lot of them look like they're pretty smart and look like they're pretty powerful, and got that chicken on their shoulder. It's a full bird colonel or a Navy captain. Yeah, if they give me their word, we're good. Customer's always right. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of decisions out there from the boards and the courts telling us, reminding us that only the government contracting officer has the power to commit and bind the U.S. government. That is critical. So that is why when the program manager comes to your people and says, you know what, I understand that the scope of work says ABC, but we need XYZ. Can you, this shouldn't be, you do, oh, absolutely, right, the customer's always right. And 2 months later, finance comes to you and says, hey, we're $600,000 in the hole here. What's going on? Oh, well, okay, well, all right. So now you try and collect that $600K. And you go to the contracting officer and say, you owe us another $600K. And she says, why? Oh, and you walk through, well, I didn't tell you to do that. Did I authorize or direct you to do that in writing? Well, no. But Colonel Johnson did. Yeah, well, Colonel Johnson's not the contracting officer. Look at the first 3 words in the changes clause. They are the contracting officer, not Colonel Johnson, not any officer 02 or above, not any senior official. It's the contracting officer. So unless you can show me documentation that I did this, forget it. We're not paying you. You did this as a volunteer. And it teaches you a lesson, by the way, that you'll never forget. And the next time someone says, you know, I know the spec calls for this, but let's try that. Well, Charlie, love to help you on that. But our lawyers have made it real clear to us that if it's outside what we bid on in that scope of work, we simply have to get the contracting officer's we definitely have to get the CO's written authorization to do that. So let's talk to the CO, or I'll have our contracts people call them. And well, no, you know what? We don't want you to do that, right? Because they know their goose is cooked. So documenting your actions. If the government wants you to do something, get it in writing from the right person, the authorized contracting officer. Now, documenting is more than just writing a memo. It can be photographs, it can be videos, it's whatever you need to show something in fact happened. Now, one of the ways we communicate so much these days is by email. And email is a great example of really nice technological advancements that create new problems that can be very vexing for all of us. And, in litigation, for example, if there are lawyers in the audience, you already know this, but when you get into discovery and litigation and you're asking for the other side's information, you always ask for all emails. And even if someone has hit the delete button, it's still on their server. And there are these little people that can go into your system and pull that stuff out. And these emails usually cause problems that really create so much litigation risk for both of you that you decide to settle. Emails can be incredibly dangerous things. So a couple of rules with respect to email. I mean, certainly it causes a problem because emails create this expectation of an immediate response, and anything delayed is a bit insulting, and you don't want to tick your customer off. But also, they're so dangerous. If you read it, you get angry, and then you respond. I mean, you just in a way that you regret forever. So basically, if it's a really important issue, print out your response, type up your response, print it out, don't send it. Take a look at it. Have a second set of eyes look at it to say, you really don't want to say that. I mean, a second set of eyes is critical here because once you've sent that email, once you hit the send button, you've lost control of it. And it can come back to bite you in the butt. So document your actions. Absolutely critical for our survival.